A bad year come to the fishing village. In autumn hunting was poor, and by winter the chambers were completely empty. A fish is to a fisherman what bread is to a farmer. The fishermen gather to discuss what to do next. It's not yet time to go to sea, but to stay at home is certain death. They thought for a long time and decided to try it anyway. Perhaps the sea will take pity and send us something in the net. One fisherman says, I heard, but I don't know if it's true, that old Karl used to be friends with the ruler of the sea. He would surely know how to attract fish. I remember something like that too, says the other fisherman. When I was still small, my grandfather told me that Karl had a secret thing that he could use to attract fish at any time. How about we go to him? Maybe he'll borrow the thing for luck. Karl lived on the edge of the village. He was a bold and successful fisherman. Now he hardly leaves the house. When the fisherman knocked on his door, he came out and said, I know why you came, friends. Beware, a good sailor does not rely on luck, but on his wits and the strength of his hands. You want a hard thing to go to sea so early. The sea doesn't like it. Well, go and I will help you. Old Karl took the scarf off his neck and showed the fisherman. Look, there are 3 knots on the scarf. The first knot will bring you good wind. Untie it when you set sail. The second knot will attract fish. Untie it when you cast the net. And don't untie the third knot at all. If you untie it, you will invite misfortune. I have to remind you one more thing. Be satisfied with what the sea sends you. Whether you get a lot of fish or a few, don't throw a second time. Yes, we will do as you said. We give you our word, said the fisherman. Just you don't forget, the sailor keeps his word, said Karl, and gave the fisherman his scarf. Then they spent the whole night painting the boat with pitch and repairing the net. In the morning they were done with their work, jumped into the boat, and set off from the shore. They soon sailed out of the bay and set sail. Then the oldest took out his scarf and said, We'll untie the first knot. He untied the knot. At that moment a fresh wind blew, stretched the sail, and drove the boat out to sea. The boat went beautifully. She turned without rudder, cutting through the waves like a knife. She carried fishermen far out into open sea. Then the wind suddenly died down, the sail dropped, the boat stopped. We are definitely here, said the fisherman. Here we cast the net. They cast anchor, spread the net, and threw it into the sea. Now untie the second knot, say the others. The eldest took out the scarf and untied the second knot. He barely did it. Something splashed in the sea. Circle started running on the water. The fisherman waited until everything was quiet and began to drag the net. She had never been so heavy before. They had to use all their strength. Finally, the net rose above the water, and the fishes poured into the boat. Nice catch, say one, thanks to old Karl. Well, if we are to last until the spring fish migration, we need 3 such catches. Shall we cast the net one more time? What do you say, friends? Have you lost your mind? Says the youngest fisherman. Don't you know what Karl said? Be satisfied with what the sea sends you. Don't cast your net the next time." "Well, old and young don't need much," laughed the elder. "But we will be ashamed that the boat is not full." And the fishermen cast the net again. But this time they were not lucky. They pulled the net completely empty. There was not a single fish in it. "That's because we haven't untied the third knot," says the oldest. "Now you see that old Karl's scarf is no ordinary one. Each of her knots brings success. Let us untie the third knot, and the boat will be full." "But Karl forbade the third knot to be untied," said another fisherman. "You are an old man," someone says. And old men say, "Try your luck until the third." And they also say, "Only a fool let luck slip away." "You are right," say the fishermen. "Be that as it may, untie the third knot too." And they untied. Here the sea roared, the waves rose. "It will be a fish," rejoiced the elder. "You see I was telling the truth." The fishermen are excited and eager. Finally, the net must be pulled out. They find it very, very difficult. But what? There is only one fish in the net, a giant pike with a blunt tail that seems to have been cut off with an axe. What a monster! The fishermen marvel and throw the pike into the boat in disgust. The sun was already bending over the water. The waves calmed before sunset. Then voices were heard. The fishermen jumped up, looking around to see if they could see anyone. At that moment the horn sounded loudly and shrill, like a shepherd calling his flock in a village. A female voice asked, "Everyone home?" And Sonorous girl's voice answered, "All but the tailless goat." And the horn sounded again, even louder. The pike in the boat began to toss and turn, opening its jagged mouth, and someone says, "Hold up the anchor. Somehow I don't like it there. Let's go away." But when the guys were leaning on the oars, the boat didn't even move. As if the sea thickened, as if the bottom of the boat grew closer to the water. They struggled all night. They threw their oars once in despair, then catch them again and row, but all in vain. It seemed that there was no force to move the boat. At dawn, strange voices were heard again. Did everyone wake up and come? "All of them, but goat without a tail is not still here." And the horn sounded again. The fish in the boat became agitated. A strange pike climbed out from the very bottom, opened its toothy mouth. "How restless she is," said the fisherman. "Who knows if it is about her, or if they are waiting for her there." He jumped off the bench and threw the pike out of the boat. And immediately afterwards, somewhere deep, perhaps at the bottom of the sea, someone clapped his hands and shouted cheerfully, "Look, the tailless goat is coming." But the fisherman heard no more. A terrible wind blew. The waves roared. One could not hear one's own words. It caught the boat and carried it across the sea. All day long, fishermen were circling the rocked waves. Sometimes the boat flew high, as if rising to the clouds. Other times it sank deep down, almost to the bottom of the sea. Even the old man did not remember such a storm. In the early evening, the waves drove them to a rocky island. The fishermen jumped ashore and pulled out the boat. "What is this island?" they asked each other. "Where did it take us?" Then a little old man comes out from behind the rock. Back bent into an arch, white chin almost to the ground. "You don't know this island. Rarely does anyone come here voluntarily. Who are you, and where are you from? And why did you go out to sea so early?" "We had to. There was hunger in the village," answered the fisherman. They only kept one secret, that they also untied the third forbidden knot on Karl's scarf. The old man listened to them and says, "I once knew your Karl, a brave and wise fisherman. He was at home at sea. Do you know where he sent your boat? Straight to the pasture of the sea ruler. Her fish graze there. But they are smart and cunning. They can never be caught. Shoals of fish have entered your net, coming from far away to feed on the queen's shoals. Well, I can't understand how the tailless pike got into the net. What did you attract her to?" The fishermen already knew what Karl wanted to protect them from, but they kept silent. The storm at sea did not subside, and wind howled in the chimney. Seeing that the discomfort would last, the old man led the fishermen on the old nets, and they fell asleep. He woke them up early in the morning. The storm roared outside the window. The waves crashed against the rocks. The fishermen were quite sad. "What should we do? We will never leave your island like this," they asked the old man. "Perhaps you will be able to leave after all," says the old man. "Give me Karl's scarf." The elder took out a scarf and handed it. The old man stirs and nods his head. "I saw this scarf once before, and I remember it had 3 knots. You say you have untied 2, but where is the third?" "You sailors are fools," he say. "You didn't listen to old Karl, and you wanted to trick me. But I will help you." The fishermen were ashamed. He took the scarf, made a knot on it, and said, "Make sure your word is as strong as this knot from now." He pulled back the scarf, and suddenly the wind behind the window died down, and the waves lay on the sea, and there was no sign of the storm. The fishermen thanked the old man and went to their boat. At that moment a light wind blew up the sail, and the boat flew across the calm sea. The fishermen reached the village that day, and the fish were enough for them until the spring migration.